HR to HR, from hell raising to human respect. The podcast is a little bit of career therapy, a little bit of chaos control, and a lot of workplace wisdom. Basically, all the things that ain't in the employee handbook. You're not going to want to miss it.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited that you are here. I am Dr. Ebony L. Baylor, creator, host, and curator for HR to HR, from hell raising to human respect. We have an awesome topic to discuss today, but before we dive in, please make sure that you are liking, following, subscribing, and sharing as to not miss what we got coming up and to help us grow a community that can thrive in the workplace. Today, our topic is resilience in the workplace. And like all the other episodes that we have been bringing you, is very meaty. And I welcome you to chime in with some recommendations and the angles as we're exploring this topic. And today we are going to learn what workplace resilience is in real time. We're going to talk about why it matters. We're further going to explore this resilience in regards to people and the lens of psychological safety, the impacts of how employees and employers can start the resiliency journey. And so to help facilitate this episode, I have my special guest, who is not only a business owner, not only a licensed mental health clinician, not only the creator of the resiliency coaching framework, not only a keynote speaker on multiple stages, but my sister, my soror, as members of the finest sorority in the land, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, the lovely Katherine Thompson. Sis, I am so happy you are here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Soro. I am so excited to have this conversation because honestly, workplace resiliency isn't talked about as a theme or as a concept right now. When right now it's needed most than any other time because of all the heaviness that's happening around us, whether it be in the US or around the world, let alone at work. So thank you so much for that introduction. Just a little bit. I was reflecting, I have been in the game for a decade at this point as a mental health clinician, mental health advocate. And I'm like, time definitely flies. And something that sticks out to me is how people have had to put me on game, so to speak. So that's why I find these conversations so helpful, is because this is basically us putting people on game about topics and of how to navigate certain situations that can create a healthy lifestyle and a healthy overall well-being. Because what people may not always realize is that mental health is an aspect of overall well-being. So being able to tap into that and have that be forefront of what you're navigating is important.
Well, first of all, 10 years in the game, that's a
Can you
long
believe
time.
that?
Like, you have
Yes.
in all the stages that you've been on. Talk to us
Yes.
a little bit about how you got into this and about your business. Like, what prompted the journey and be so passionate about the work that you're doing?
Okay, so I started off as somebody that always wanted to end mental health stigma. And that's still the lane in which I operate under because being Colombian American myself, I saw firsthand how challenging it was to talk about certain topics like feeling sad or depressed, feeling worried or anxious. Those weren't acceptable conversations. They were very much taboo. You could maybe express how frustrated or angry or maybe disappointed, but aside from that, and happy obviously, but aside from that, it wasn't a welcome conversation. So what I saw was that type of lack of conversation prevented people from getting help just across the board from what I've seen in communities of color, in underrepresented populations, is having that stigma of like, goodness, if I talk about how I feel and it's not a positive feeling, I'm going to get scrutinized. I'm going to get told you have so much to be thankful for. Why are you depressed? Or just pray about it. Or you're ungrateful, what have you. So that's basically the inception of Sparrow, because Sparrow in itself is the word Spero is hope in Latin, specifically, while I breathe, I hope. And that's something that I really wanted to help my clients tap into is hope. A lot of times when people are having a tough time, it's like, oh my goodness, I don't see the other side of this. I don't see me being intact and well and healthy again, that type of despair at times. So I've pivoted from that to now using that lens of providing hope, but more so as an organizational consultant and public speaker. So I still take the essence of the work that I did in individual therapy, family therapy, couples therapy, all of that. But now I'm kind of furthering my niche, if you will.
You have a wealth of knowledge, and you've been doing all this public speaking. I've been following you around, checking out,
Thank
and you're
you.
tapping into the workplace. And so let's dive into defining what is workplace resilience and what is it in real terms.
So, resilience in itself is how do you reset from a setback? Now, as it pertains to in the workplace, is how do you reset when something happens that can potentially impact the flow of your day? So, for example purposes, let's say somebody, imagine how this happened before. Somebody say, you know what? That email was very aggressive. Well, that's a very intense statement to make, especially when a lot of time how can words be aggressive? Let's start there. But I mean, I guess they could be. Workplace resiliency is navigating these setbacks or these challenges in a way that doesn't diminish who you are as a person by setting boundaries and by always keeping in mind that there's something that can be done that is helpful to everybody involved, and it doesn't have to be, an argument or to do with any type of setbacks that happen at work. It can just be a mere like, hey, what do you mean by that? I just want to understand, have more clarity. It doesn't have to be like, I can't believe you, that's so rude, that's so mean. No. So resiliency again is taking a look at a situation from a different vantage point while still honoring your own vantage point and your own stance.
So can we pull back a couple of layers on that? Because
Yes,
what I heard you
absolutely.
say is it doesn't have to be contentious. It can just be,
Yeah,
hey, what was meant by that? And it sounds like
exactly.
just scratching the surface, that might be, a willingness to have a crucial conversation.
Exactly. Exactly. Because something that particularly that I talk about in my coaching program, resiliency, and I'm very much on things need to have meaning. So even with sparrow meaning hope, resiliency as in yes in Spanish, and you can do this. So something that I coach people on and entities as well is how to navigate microaggressions and how to navigate the prevalence and the increase that you may be seeing right now in these current times. Definitely. And you're right. It doesn't have to be a to do. It doesn't have to be a contentious conversation. It can just be like, hey, a lot of times when you're putting the mirror in their face, for example, like, hey, what do you mean by that? Like, I'm just curious. I'm wanting to have a better understanding. Then they have to reflect on, well, goodness, what did I mean by that? And is what I meant something that has to actually come out my mouth? So, yeah.
So are you seeing, as you're, consulting and meeting with different organizations, an uptick in microaggressions by virtue of the social climate?
Yes. Yes. So it's twofold. Yes, I have seen an uptick, and also the impact of the microaggressions that have been happening for decades, for as long as time has been. It's just felt more intensely nowadays. So it's both. So there has been more reports of microaggressions, and then it's just been felt on a deeper level where it kind of, if you want to put it like this, it stings more.
Stinging more openly, it's more overt.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
What is the guidance in developing resiliency in those particular situations? And like this wasn't even a part of the objectives, but since we here, I want to explore this
Yes.
a little bit further.
Absolutely. So I think step one is acknowledging and creating space for how you feel. Because the thing is, a lot of times people may maybe not intentionally want to convince you that it isn't a big deal, you're overreacting, or that wasn't meant like that. Your gut instinct a lot of times is on point. If you feel like that was, off-putting, disrespectful, out of line, and rude, it probably was. Because it's important, especially with emotional intelligence, to be able to validate your own self before welcoming others to validate you.
And tell us why. Well, so I heard another thing too, that whole gaslighting thing. Oh,
Yes,
you're being too
yes,
sensitive, or that's not really what I said, or
yeah.
not really. So is there an uptick in that also?
Yes, because that's tied to the microaggression that I even experience. And it's unfortunate because I think a lot of times things are downplayed, which doesn't help in people feeling validated. One, because you can validate people all day, every day. What are we going to do about this? How is this going to be a teachable moment? How are we going to reinstate psychological safety in the workplace?
And so why does this matter now? Like with everything that's going on, I recently made a post out on LinkedIn about accountability and integrity mattering like right now because we are in a climate of deny, defend, deflect, distract, and destroy in some
Yes.
cases, right?
Mhm.
Like why does this resiliency matter right now? Why is it so important today?
I think it's hard to separate what is happening in the political climate and in the world with what people may be carrying into the workplace. I mean, it's whichever side you are on, there's a lot going on. No matter how you want to look at it, there's just a lot. So I think that's what makes this more needed than now than any other time, is because of how the weight of the world is impacting how you navigate your 40 plus hours a week. Because just imagine, I mean, if you're in a work environment where there isn't cultural felt safety, where there isn't psychological felt safety, it can be tough to even feel comfortable coming in as your true self. And can you imagine 40 plus hours of putting a face on that just doesn't even resemble who you are and what you stand for? That's exhausting.
The weight and the gravity of that mask on
Yes,
for 40 hours.
exactly. Exactly. Oh, it's so exhausting.
Or even longer for 40 hours. I mean, you have some
Exactly.
folks that are, what, cranking out 50, 60,
Yep.
70 hours of their work week, mask on, not feeling safe, not feeling, psychological safety, and feeling that they have to inwardly contain that heaviness. And so what are the impacts on people?
Well, so people can experience an increase in depression. They can experience an increase in anxiety. They can experience, honestly, gastrointestinal issues, headaches. So it's a lot that people can experience that's attributed to just high stress level if we want to generalize it. Something else that's important to note is that nowadays a lot of that stuff is written off because like, no, keep pushing. You're not done working. So that's something that I teach in my coaching program. Part of resiliency, especially in the workplace, is setting clear boundaries. I actually have a free ebook about that now that we're talking about it. Um,
We will drop that in the episode and make sure that the listeners get that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, because honestly, so let's just say, for example purposes, your boss or a colleague, whoever, is sending you an email at 5:55. First of all, you're off at 5. Let's start there. Let's say 4:55. Either way, if you continue to respond late, they're going to continue expecting a response. So it's important to set those boundaries, maybe having a I'm away until the next day or whatever that may look like. And also, because people can set boundaries all day, every day, is are you going to be intentional about having people stick to them? Like, hey, this is within my capacity. I can help you find somebody else I can help with the greater picture too. So it's because if not, the thing is when people are overworked and underpaid, let's just go with overworked. When people are overworked, it can create resentment. It can create like the symptoms or the side effects, if you will, that I just described, that can be a thing too, because the workplace resilience is not easy to assess when you're in that state.
So not being able to assess when you're in it. And a lot of the literature, a lot of coaches, and I mean, there's no shortage of conversation and dialogue around trying to navigate the instances in the workplace that are causing
Yeah,
burnout, maybe leadership challenges, and it's not
exactly.
going to fix itself. And
Mhm.
then also sometimes the notion is you can't fix it, and so you can't
Yeah,
fix yourself until you're out of it. So talk to us
exactly.
a little bit about how, from your lens, is someone or are people able to cultivate that workplace resiliency in the environment? Or do you see it being necessary to remove yourself from the environment? Like, what are you seeing? Because there are plenty of instances where you can outlast the situation, you can build
Mm-hmm.
up the resiliency and create these boundaries for your own good, but there's still these other things happening around you.
Exactly.
And then there's the other hand where no matter what you do, you still can't elevate yourself to being resilient in the
Mm-hmm.
environment and you may have to separate from it. So, talk to us about both of those angles.
So a lot of times is not feasible or realistic or in the time frame desired to remove yourself from the situation. Would that be ideal? Oh, absolutely, depending on how unhealthy and toxic your work environment may be. So something that I always start off with is let's change you. Because at the end of the day, you can only control what you do and what you choose to do. So let's work on you, build up your skills, have you prevent burnout. Can you set clear boundaries, have people stick to? So doing all of those things first. Because watch, a lot of times when those skills or techniques are being put into place, you get less pushback. It doesn't feel as chaotic at work because in a sense, you're teaching people how to treat you, and the way they're treating you is more favorable and feels better than what they were previously. So then the workplace may still be toxic, but it doesn't. The impact shifts.
Ooh, now that's good. So there's some self work that can happen in order
Exactly.
to thrive in that environment. Man,
Hmm.
okay, so let's dig in a little bit more here. When we don't have that resiliency, or if we haven't built ourselves up to it or gotten ourselves to a place where we have it, I heard you say burnout. I heard you say people not respecting your boundaries because you haven't established any,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Some of the physical things like digestion issues. So when you don't have resiliency available or you don't have it or it doesn't exist, these are some of the impacts. This is what it could look like. What about the rest of the workplace environment? Not just you, but what about the rest of the environment that you're operating in when you lack workplace resiliency?
Bring up a very important layer because not only is it internal work and self-discovery and that type of stuff, a lot of times it's organizational shifts that need to happen too. There are, yes, you can do ERGs, definitely that helps. It's just if you're not creating an open, inclusive, welcoming, where everyone feels like they belong environment at a minimum, things like this can just continue to happen. So there are things that as an organization consultant that I do help entities with. How do we create a space where people aren't having mental health crises because of that the workplace isn't adding to a potential mental health crisis? How can we identify when someone's having a tough time and may need additional support? Because a lot of times, I mean, employers, they may not always be as privy to what we as therapists know to kind of look out for. And that's so there's many different stages. So building up the resiliency, if for whatever reason you continue to have a tough time, how to identify some of the warning signs of having a mental health crisis or mental health challenges. And then the what now piece. What now? So with the two lanes, you built up your workplace resilience with each employee, whoever may have been having a struggle with it, and then also as an employer. Then with you're having a mental health crisis or on the verge of one, what next? What can you put in place to have that not happen again? How can we be more proactive than reactive and like, whoa, scrambling? What do we do now that somebody's having a very tough time and the work is not helping?
Great call out about the responsibility, it sounds like, of the employer. And so I know that mental health and mental well-being has not always been a priority, but we're now starting to
Exactly.
see more employers offer resources and benefits that are geared and directed more towards mental well-being and and
Exactly.
well-being in the workplace. Are you seeing an uptick in employers having more benefits and resources available to address this, or is there still a shortage from what you're seeing?
I've seen the uptick in the positive direction. I do contract work with the mindfulness meditation app called Headspace. All of my members, they're getting services via their EAP program, the employee assistance program through their employer. So that's huge. And they give them a good allotment of sessions, and if for whatever reason they need additional, there is a pretty streamlined process in which to get more. And so that I think has been something very impactful that has been able to be put in place. Because with going back to when I even started Sparrow, so I started in 2016, opened my business in 2019. Mental health was still very much taboo topic. People using the word that I don't like to use. People are crazy. Like that type of stuff was so much more prevalent then than it is now. I think now, unfortunately, with TikTok and stuff like that, there's more awareness that mental health challenges are a lot of people deal with stuff. So in knowing that there is stuff that can be done with EAP programs, and that's a great way to provide support to your employees.
Employers that do not have this element under their EAP or under their benefits, what's your guidance to them, and how do they get to a place where they're reinforcing resilience in their organization?
They are missing out, I'll tell you that much. And I mean, there's many different ways to go about it. I recommend getting an outside party. Because if you get somebody that's a therapist that works on the team, that's not the same as getting
Yeah.
an outside party, whether it be a platform such as Headspace, whether it be a group of individuals that people are referred to. It's something that is a bit external, so you can feel more safe talking about stuff that may be happening in the office.
And lastly, when we're talking about, well, not lastly, we can go on forever, but psychological safety in the workplace, that's a hot topic now. I mean, that's
Yes.
something it has actually turned into not a buzzword, but it has certainly turned into one of those terms that elevates the radar in HR, right? Psychological safety. Now, that
Yeah.
particularly and all of the components of it it garners more attention.
Yes.
And so in the journey to creating workplace resiliency, how important is psychological safety on that journey?
Yes.
Psychological safety being as important as it is, why is it so important? And what happens when it's not prioritized in the resiliency journey?
Gotcha. So there's a few layers to that. I definitely want to give credit where credit is due. Employers are doing a very good job, well, a better job about identifying psychological felt safety as being a component of a healthy working team. So I will give employers that, because I remember when I was living in Atlanta, I did a talk on cultural felt safety, psychological felt safety, emotional safety, all of that. And at that point, it was very, I wouldn't say unheard of, but it wasn't hot topic as it is now. And that was just, I mean, my daughter, she was a newborn. She came to it and it meant so much to me. That was in 2022. So the fact that even in this amount of time, people are becoming more aware, that's great. So, okay, so there's that. Now, that aside, it really impacts your outlook. If you don't have a sense of psychological felt safety, you may be jaded, like feeling very burnt out, depleted, because it starts affecting your how you view yourself, others, and the world around you. If you don't feel safe to even show up, again, going back to showing up to your true self, or if you are feeling gaslighted, if there are microaggressions, or let's just call it some overt racism happening, or even some unconscious biases that, even after addressed, then become conscious biases. People telling you what you can work on, you keep on doing it. It's not unconscious anymore. So all of that can impact. Isn't it true though?
It is. You still doing it. You're making a conscious choice to keep doing the thing that I
Exactly.
told you was affecting me or bothering me.
Exactly,
You keep doing it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's something to keep in mind when looking at how psychological safety can impact overall well-being. And that's why resiliency in this particular framework can be helpful.
I do want you to share just a couple of pieces or some snippets from the resiliency framework that you created. Like, talk to us about the highs, the impacts, and last but not least, of course, tell us how we can get access to you and the framework.
Okay, so basically, tapping into resiliency in general is a journey. Let me just put it like that. And so with Sparrow, I'm able to accompany you on this journey and giving you the tool. There's many different packages, if you will, and each of them is customized to fit what you need in that moment. A testimonial was I had a student in my coaching program. She was saying, because she was really working on finding her voice, setting boundaries, and not allowing her boss to railroad her, for example. She, at the end of the coaching program, she said, Catherine, I told my boss I couldn't work during holiday. I felt so proud of myself, and I would not have done that if it wouldn't have been for you. And I'm like, that was so touching. I was like, oh my gosh, wow. I didn't think, oh, this is awesome. Because she works overseas and she just wanted to spend Christmas with her grandchild and her son and husband. But she felt so pressured to, get tab deliverables and meet deadlines that she's like, I'm gonna have to work. Okay. Well, what would you like and how can you get to that? That's why I tell my clients, even in the contract work that I do, there's things that you may want out of life. Yes. What are we going to do? What action, what choices can you make to get there? That helps you be an agent of change, an agent in your own life and not just have life happening to you.
Ooh. Now that is powerful. That's a whole word there, Catherine.
Yeah.
I think you might have just you set up the workplace word of wisdom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right. Perfect.
So we've talked a lot about workplace resiliency and defining what it is, the impacts from the people lens, the psychological safety, and also leaned into what employers and employees can do to start their journey. And so, just as you shared, there's what can you do to
Yes.
create some action so that you're living your life and life is not happening. I would love for you to plug into that a little bit more and just
Sure.
round out the workplace word of wisdom for our guests. So, before we
Absolutely.
close out.
So when I founded Sparrow, something that kept me going, and it still does, is a quote by Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it's done. So with having that conversation with the boss, it always seems impossible until it's done. Seeing the other side of burnout, seeing the other side of feeling depleted and undervalued and all it just worked to the max when you don't even have a life it always seems impossible until it's done. So that's what I would leave people with. And also, if any of this resonated with you, if you want to find out more information, please feel free to visit my website, which is Sparrow SPERO psych PSYCH.org. I would love to connect, and you can also download my free ebook from there. And I have an affirmation journal too, because it's all about how we choose again choices to pour back into ourselves. So definitely.
Pouring back into ourselves is so important because there are so
Yes,
many things that are taking from us, and you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
absolutely. Exactly. Yes.
So we will make sure that we will put all of this information in the episode description so folks can find you. Are you on Instagram, social media? Where can we find you? I know you're on LinkedIn.
Yes, please connect with me on LinkedIn, Katherine Thompson, LPC-S, Regalado, Regalado. That's my former last name. And also on Instagram at Sparrow Psych, SPERO Psych, PSYCH. Feel free to connect with me. I'm on Facebook too, Sparrow Psychological Services. You can find me many different ways.
Well, Catherine, my soror, thank you so very much for your time and your information, your insight, your wisdom on this topic today. We're all on a journey trying to figure this thing out. Like,
Yes.
folks are trying to survive, but we really want to be able to thrive and be able
Yes.
to be our best selves, our best version of ourselves. And so, the information that you shared with us today, I know people are going to be checking in, tapping in, downloading the resources
Oh,
that you've made
yes.
available. So, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Friends, Tell us what you thought about this episode. If you're able to give some comments, tell us what we need to talk more about, because I plan on having my soror back again for some more.
Yes, absolutely. Please.
So we can talk about some additional layers about this. Please make sure that you are liking, following, subscribing, and sharing the podcast so that others can find us, so we can continue to grow the community that thrives in the workplace. And until next time, friends, stay respected by staying respectful.